Welcome to another video in this course. In the previous video, we discussed how to use route parameters and how to get value dynamically from the request URL. So in this video, like I promised, we'll be doing something that looks much more like the route parameters, but in this case, they're called query parameters. So we also want to explore the options that we have on gathering or receiving values through the URL in our Express on our Express server. So now, what are query parameters? Now, this is something that you might be familiar with if you are switching over from a language like PHP, um, and it's also mostly used in other applications or websites built with JavaScript also. So query parameters are things that will have or are values that we declare right in our URL. So for example, if I switch to Google search engine, or for example my DuckDuckGo search engine, and if I should search for Express as an example, and here you're going to see something up in my URL. I don't know if this is visible enough, but here you can see that after the URL I have a question mark, and after that I have something called q equals express, a and symbol, an ampersand symbol, and t equals chrome, whatever that is, and ia equals web. So this is actually a query parameter that is used in this search engine to search for values. So whenever I punch something in and the search box, it assigns it to a value of q. So this is pretty much what a query parameter or query parameters are. So it's like a kind of way you eject values in your URL along with the request that you're making. So we can also extract these values on our server. So what we're going to do now is also we're going to do something like that. Now if we take a look at our server that we're building, and we can see that on the home page or on the default or the default path we have request handled successfully. We want to change this. We want it to have something. We want to have a query parameter that contains the name of the person making the request. So we want to greet the person. So welcome to my site. Then whatever name comes along with this URL. So let's do that. To handle that, well, it's nothing much actually. It's something we can actually do right now. I'm just going to demonstrate how that's going to work. So we're going to have localhost port 8000, then a question mark. Then we're going to have name equals, for example, my name, Cherry. So whenever we make a request using this, then we want to, as you can see, it still executes what we have before. We are not getting a 404 error, or it cannot get error. In this case, it's working, but it's not reading this parameter. So let's dive in and make our site more dynamic. So what we're going to do here, we're going to handle it on this or inside this part. So we are going to say request made to /head that, and instead of request handled successfully, we want to use a template string to send a message back to our client. So here we're going to say welcome um to our website. Welcome to our website. They won't have the name of the person in here. So how do we access query parameters is much more, just like I said, much more like we access route parameters also. So we also access it from the request object. Then we call, instead of params, we call the query, and then the name of the value dots the name of the value we're expecting. So here we're expecting the name of a person. So we're expecting the request of query.name. So yeah, let's test this out in our browser and see how it works. So here I have it already. Here I have a question mark. Now, whenever you are using a query parameter, you will always remember to put a question mark just after your URL. So after the URL or the route or the path that you're making the request to, you want to have a question mark, then followed by the name of the field, then an equal sign, then a value. Then you can also use multiple values in your query parameters, as I'm going to show you later. But right now, let's test this out and see what we have. So here, if I make this request again, as you can see, welcome to our website, Jerry. So what if I change this value? I'm sorry. Um, so what if I change this value from name to something else? Let's say I do username. So now this isn't going to work. As you can see here, we get undefined. So this is not going to work because we are waiting for name, but here we got username. So name is actually undefined. Now JavaScript is not something that is going to, it's not a language that is going to throw you an error for doing this, but if you happen to find yourself in this situation when you're building an application or website that's going to be deployed, then it might look kind of embarrassing if you find undefined on or if your users find undefined on their screen. So you want to look for a way to make sure that whatever you are expecting is the stuff that's been passed into the URL. So you want to make sure of that. All right. So now we've seen that if we don't declare or if we don't expect something and we put it here in our query parameter, it's not going to be regarded, it's not going to be used. But if we switch back to name, as you can see here, so it's fine. So now I want to have name and I want to have another parameter or another query parameter. And in this case, I want to have a user ID. So to do that, I'm just going to use the and or the ampersand symbol, and I'm going to say user underscore ID. User underscore ID equals okay. I'm just going to say code mania 001 as my user ID, and let's say I want to have another value. In this case, um I just want to say, let's just say this should be the privilege. Let's say this is a website that has so many user accounts and control stuff. So we want to say, okay, probably this person is an admin or a user. So we have the name, the user ID, and also the privilege. So now what we're going to do right now is if we're going to check if the privilege is an admin, we're going to render a different thing. If the privilege is user, then we're going to render a different thing. So in this case, we can tell the user, welcome to our website. Then your user ID is this. But to the admin, you can say, welcome to your dashboard, configure, blah, 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 and stuff like that. So just to make sure that we are using the logic or we're applying logic with it. So now we're going to use an if statement. So if request the query, um, request the query, okay, I just spelled that wrong. Request the query dot privilege um, equals to admin. So if the privilege is admin, then we want to render something different. So I'm just going to put this here and probably copy this, the copy of it. So instead of welcome to a website, so we're going to say, let's just say admin dashboard. So I want to make use of the name, admin dashboard, and we can have admin name equal to whatever the name that comes in with the query parameters. And also we want to have we also want to have we also want to have the admin ID. So we're going to say admin ID, but in our case we know it's user ID that we declared. So we're going to say ID equals also that will be request a query dot user ID. But we know that it's admin ID, that this is an admin, not a user. We're just using user ID because that was what we declared. Okay, so now if the request, the query, the privilege is admin, so that means if the person is an admin, we want to do this. Now, I think I thought I was going to get away with this, but there's something we actually need to do that's very, very important. So I cannot use my one liner, even though I want to. I would very much love to do that right now. So I have to cut this and put it back in here. Now there's something that we actually need to do, but I'm not going to do it right now. I just want you guys to see the implication. So I'm not going to use an SL statement here. I'm just going to check again if the request that's privilege dot oh sorry the request the query it dot privilege, if it's equal to user, then we want to say almost the same thing, but here we're just going to say user dashboard instead of admin dashboard. And we can also say welcome to our website. Welcome to our website. Then we can have um, a new line character right here. Okay, so welcome to our website, user dashboard, name, this, and whatever. So now I'm going to use this now. Okay, in our case here, what I said when I said we might have a problem, we might not actually have a problem in our case, but there's something that I'll very much advise you to do in a case like this. When you have a situation where you are sending a response due to a condition, so when you're checking for a condition and using that to send a response to the user, so after each response, it's very good to do something to end the request, so we can do rest.end. Now this tells Express that we're done with this request. We are no longer sending something else. Now, if you don't do this, let's say you have another rest to send out here. Let's say we have rest to send out here, and we're going to get an error. Where it's going to tell us that cannot set either after. It's more like you've already sent a response to the user or to the client. Now you're trying to send something else to the client. Are you? It's going to be conflicting. We do not want to do that. We want to show that we are done with this request. We are no longer sending anything. So rest.end is going to terminate the request automatically, and the server won't be allowed to send any other request, any other response to the user. So now we have this set up. Let's test this in our browser. All right. Okay, now so I have the name, which is Jerry, the user ID, which is CodeMania001, and the privilege, which is admin. So if I all right, as you can see here, I have admin dashboard. The name is Jerry, and the ID is CodeMania001. So let's change this. I'm going to change the user ID to be client instead of CodeMania. So client 001 and the privilege to user. So if I make this request now, you're going to see welcome to our website, and for some reason our new line character isn't working. Why is that? So I have no idea why that isn't working right now. Okay, probably because we're in a template string, but in any way, welcome to our website. This is the user dashboard. The name is Jerry and the ID is client 001. So with this, we can see how we can make our website dynamic by using route parameters or query parameters on Express Server. Now, in the next video, I'm going to explain something that might have been giving you some headaches since the beginning of this course. So you've been seeing me writing app.get over. I'm going to explain that better in the next video, and I'm going to show you other type of requests that can be made that we can listen for on our Express server. So until then, remember to leave a like on this video if you find it helpful, and also subscribe to this channel. I'll see you in the next video.